He is the former director, Center for Igbo Studies, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, our own UNN. Currently, he is the lead researcher of poets in Nigeria, Sociolinguistic Laboratory and Directorate of Research, UNN. Let's make welcome to do the very first paper, Professor Christopher Uchenna Abeto, all the way from University of Nigeria. Prof, you're welcome. May you put your hands together as Prof stands. Put your hands together as Prof stands. Put your hands together. He will present our very first paper that will reflect on the historical background of Igbos and the area. You're welcome, Prof.
So geography is not neutral background, it is an active agent. So the Niger and its tributaries shape settlement distribution, trade corridors, and ecological adaptation. And so the Anambra floodplain and upland forest zones supported intensive yam cultivation and market exchanges that sustained dense populations. They also created varied microecologies that fostered cultural differentiation east and west of the Niger. The third pillar is anthropological, social grammar, ritual, and title. Anthropology teaches us to compare social structures to discern whether similarities are genealogical or functional. So the Igbo concept of Umonna, the extended patrilineal kin groups, finds resonance in Gula family compounds where ancestry, craft, and ritual are inseparable. Kinship terminologies, naming ceremonies, and age-grade organizations reveal structural continuities. Moreover, the egalitarian ethos of Igbo society mirrors the democratic tendencies within African American communities, organizing from the sea islands to savannah. So the anthropological lens shows that dispersed people often recreate old ethics in new geographies. The fourth pillar is the biblical and comparative religious pillar, meaning, memory, and limits. For centuries, the Igbo Jewish pillar, parallel, has fascinated scholars and missionaries alike. Each ethnographer, such as Basden, noted dietary rules, circumcision on the 8th day, and reverence for a singular deity, Chukwu Abiyama. Now, biblical narratives identify Eri, son of God, Genesis 46:16, whose name surfaces again in the genealogies of 1 Chronicles 7:7. So whether literal descent or cultural ethos, the Eri narrative embodies covenantal consciousness, people mindful of divine origin and ethical responsibility. Theologians caution that scripture should be heard as testimony rather than as proof. Its importance lies not in genetic verification, but in moral orientation, the belief that identity carries towards justice, hospitality, and remembrance. So across the 19th and 20th centuries, some ethnographers and later community movement noted apparent parallels between certain Igbo ritual motifs and elements of biblical tradition. So early observers recorded practices that reminded them superficially of Hebraic ritual, dietary customs, circumcision in some subgroups, and high regard for genealogy. Later, movements and narratives framing re-engaged those parallels as identity sources. Then the fifth pillar, migration. Migration studies provide the temporal rhythm of dispersal and reconnections. So between 1501 and 1866, a substantial number of Igbo captives were transported across the Atlantic. Indeed, the 15th to 19th century marked a rupture in Africa's story. the transatlantic slave trade, the longest forced migration in human history. From Boni to Calabar, from Abo to Opobo, thousands of Igbo men and women were torn from their families and shipped to the Americas, to the Caribbean and beyond. The statistics may vary, but historians agree that about over 2 million Igbos were trafficked across the Atlantic. In their exile, they carried fragments of their homeland, language, music, proverbs, spirituality. Their bodies were enslaved, but their spirits resisted. Nowhere is this resistance more profoundly dramatized than in the legend of Igbo landing, Georgia, USA. When Igbo slaves, when captured Igbo slaves brought from Calabar realized that they had been deceived into bondage, they rose in defiance. They chose death over servitude, walking into the sea chanting, "The water spirit will take us home." Other traditions among the Igbo chiefs still remember them as the Igbo people who flew home. This act was not suicide, it was ancestral defiance, a reenactment of the Igbo philosophical refusal to live without dignity. It was a moral echo of Onyekwe Gideme. If one agrees, his chief also agrees. Across diaspora, traces of Igbo identity survived. In Jamaica, the word red, Igbo, described people of lighter complexion, descended from Igbo stock. In Haiti, Igbo elements merged into voodoo spirituality. In Cuba, the name Ebo became a cultural marker. In the American South, the Gulagichi people of Southern Carolina and Georgia carried Igbo names, songs, and proverbs embedded in their oral tradition. Even in forced displacement, Igbo cosmology, the belief in destiny, chi, community, umunna, and moral uprightness, that is omenala, persisted, mutated but not dying. So the Atlantic did not erase us, it translated us. Now, how do we do the reconnection and the reinvention? I say here, our blood remembers. History, however, is not static. What was scattered now seeks to reassemble. Maka Obaranyi. Obaranyi do kono. Obarandi bodegene okono. Through genetic science, cultural movements, and spiritual awakening, the dispersed children of Ndi Igbo are finding their way home. Modern DNA testing has become a digital oracle, revealing ancestral connections once buried under centuries of silence. And from this rich discovery, voices are rising. Voices of global icons who find in their genetic codes the rediscovery, the whisper of an ancestral drumbeat. Who are they? Bishop D.D. Jakes, the celebrated African-American preacher, announced after a DNA tracing that his lineage leads back to the Igbo of southern Nigeria. In his words, it gives me roots. Forrest Whitaker, a Nollywood actor and humanitarian, traced his paternity right straight to Nkwe, Imo State, where he was honored with the chieftaincy title, One the number of Nkwe. Danny Glover, a long-time Pan-African activist, received a similar title in the same community, affirming his spiritual and cultural kinship. Shakira, the Colombian Lebanese global pop icon, publicly acknowledged in an interview about her Igbo ancestry through genetic tracing, symbolizing the vast reach of the Igbo dispersal. And today, now, Mayor Griffin Lawson, whose lineage links directly to the Gulagichi people, themselves descendants of Ndi Igbo, that is, the landing matters, returns home tonight to be received and honored by His Majesty, the Eze Akajo-Afor of Eri Nobuga. These things are more than celebrity curiosities. They represent the metaphorical flight of the Igbo spirit, the phoenix that refuses extinction. Each DNA revolution, each cultural reconnection is a flame rekindling collective memory and healing historical amnesia. And so, as we witness this symbolic investiture today, we must ask, what does reconnection mean for the living? It means rediscovering not just ancestry, but purpose. Why are you here? Why did Chukwuabiyama send you here? Is it by accident? Or did Chukwuabiyama have a mission for sending you here? And so, as we witness this symbolic investiture, we must ask, what does reconnection mean for the living? It means rediscovering not just ancestry, but the purpose. It means transforming nostalgia into cultural renaissance. It means using memory as a tool for development in language, in preservation, in economic cooperation, in historical scholarship, in global solidarity. And so for us at home, reconnection means must also awaken moral introspection. How do we treat one another within Nigeria? How can a people who produce the likes of Owele Namdazikiwe, Chinua Achebe, Michael Okpara, Philippe Megwale, and even our own Chimamanda Adichie continue to live as second-class citizens in their own federation? That is the question we must answer one day, if not today. How can we rebuild self-confidence when our brightest minds are exiled by our own negligence? Reconnection is not only backward looking, it is forward building. It is a challenge to reinvent the Igbo nation as a global network of innovation, culture, and moral vision. It is to affirm that the Igbo story from Eri to Enugu, from Arochukwu to Atlanta is still being written. Now, how do we reconnect Eri, Nsukka, and then the homecoming of Griffin Lawson? How does this scholarly synthesis translate into practice? Notice three institutional dynamics at work in the current moment. First, the palace of Eze Akajo-Afor, Eze Eri Nobuga, exercises spiritual or ritual recognition. I understand he is going to be conferred with the chieftaincy. Am I right? Thank you. Now, the chieftaincy conferment on Mayor Griffin Lawson is not a ceremonial afterthought. It is a formal act of kinship that reunites an individual with ancestral authority and communal acceptance. So ritual naming matters. It restores social belonging in a language that people understand. Then the second is the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. This university anchors the return in intellectual recognition by hosting Lawson's distinguished guest lecture on Nigeria and Nigerian Igbo and U.S. Gulagichi connections on 4th November and conferring an academic honorary title. UNN translates ritual homecoming into scholarly dialogue that documents, analyzes, and propagates the knowledge of reconnection. A third, the regent, Dr. Nwachukwu Anakwenze's mediation exemplifies bridge leadership, moving between palace and academy to ensure the homecoming is both ceremonially sound and academically rigorous. This tripartite collaboration, the palace, the academy, and the diaspora, and the diaspora models how ritual authority and scholarly method can reinforce one another. Now, every diaspora tale begins in rupture but matures in reconciliation. So when the Igbo Cultural Heritage Corridor in the United States recognizes its linguistic cousinship with the Igbo heartland, it reclaims ownership of history from colonial narratives. And so Mayor Lawson's decade-long advocacy, culminating in his visit to Nigeria, first to Eri and later to Nsukka, symbolizes how memory travels home. And so the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, through its Faculty of Arts Distinguished Guest Lecture Series, acts as the academic bridge, translating the spiritual return into scholarly dialogue. And so, under the vision of Vice Chancellor Professor Simon Uchenna Otuanya and Council leadership of Engineer Kayode Olubunmi-Ojo, the University of Nigeria, the only University of Nigeria, by the way, has become a convener of cultural diplomacy where diaspora meets homeland under the banner of research and mutual respect. Equally, the Eri Festival, created by Eze Akajo of Igbo, heavily supported by the regent of Apagana, Dr. Nakwenzi, functions as an indigenous university without walls, a ceremonial classroom where myth, history, and diplomacy intertwine. The conferment of chieftaincy or title on Mayor Lawson is not a token gesture, but a restoration of kinship severed by centuries of silence. In practical terms, Lawson's visit will produce data, oral testimonies, cultural performances, linguistic recordings that will enter scholarly archives and community memory alike. So these primary materials can also be analyzed under the 5-pillar framework we have analyzed. I have been told that I have a few minutes, so let me go to the closing. My closing remark says, memory, justice, and renewal. In the Igbo saying, onye na-amaghị ebe mmiri bidoro maba ya, agaghị ama ebe ọ ga-ebe gịnị akwụsị ya. He who does not know where the rain began to beat him cannot know where it will dry. We gather today to recall where the rain began, not as lament, but as wisdom. From Eri's Valley to Nsukka's hills, from the slave camps of Bonny Harbor to Simon's Island of Georgia, we now see the same ancestral rhythm pulsating beneath different skies. History calls, uniting the fragments of our scattered story across oceans and centuries. And in that circle stands the human heart, beating with one name, one pulse, one memory. Igbo. Igbo Kwedu. Today, that heartbeat resonates anew in a sacred valley. That is here we are today. Echoed by the hallowed halls of Nsukka and amplified by the voices of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. From the savannah to Suriname, from Charleston to Calabar. So when Mayor Lawson stands under the offer of Eri, when UNN's auditorium filled with scholars and families exchanging stories, we will have witnessed more than a ceremonial moment. We will have witnessed the working of history, broken lines of connection being stitched together by ritual, scholarship, and reciprocal respect. The 5 pillars do not deliver a single tidy origin story because human identities are not tidy. But together they give us a rigorous, generous way to approach the past, one that honors both the archaeologists' find, the grandmother's tale, the geneticist's statistic, and the priest's invocation. So in this keynote speech, we do not seek to reduce identity to single proof. We seek to restore the dignity of memory, to honor the courage of those who refuse to be reduced, and to build institutions that will allow the land of Eri to be a living resource and a source for future generations. In every tongue that utters, I am in every song that remembers, and in every step that retraces the ancestral path. The world now hears the same truth, that to be Igbo is to belong to a story that cannot die. So let us rise, custodians of memory, heirs of resilience, builders of tomorrow, and carry this ancestral flame forward, not as a relic of the past, but as a living covenant with the future. Because in the end, beyond all borders and centuries, the circle is unbroken. The children have come home. Only Igbo are the people who, against all odds, refuse to vanish from history's map. Your Majesty, distinguished audience, given that Igbo's story is one of dispersed continuity, the river must flow back to its source. We are a people who have died many symbolic deaths, yet continue to resurrect. From slavery to civil war, marginalization to global acclaim. The world now looks towards Ndi Igbo, not merely as traders or survivors, but as custodians of a philosophy of resilience. The blood that crossed the Atlantic has not thinned, it has thickened with time. The ancestors who walked into the waters of Igbo landing did not drown. They transformed into a mythic consciousness, now returning home through the likes of Lawson, Jakes, Whitaker, and countless unnamed descendants. Let this festival be more than a cultural pageant. Let it be a reaffirmation of identity and a renewal of hope and purpose. Let our language, let our proverbs, let be our reaffirmation of identity and a renewal of purpose. For as the Igbo says, Miriana Yefunala, the river never truly disappears. It only finds a new path to the sea. The river of Igbo destiny flows once again homewards. Homewards to where? Eri. And today, here we are, knitted and bonded in one blood, one heart, one destiny. Igbo kwenu! Igbo kwenu! Igbo kwenu! Dalonu! Dejenu! Jokwanu! Una amujala! Igbo gandi! Igbo adila! Dewonu!
Standing ovation, standing ovation, standing ovation. Let's appreciate Professor in a special way. Professor Christopher Uchenna Wedo. Professor, thank you so much. Have your seat. Thank you so much. Please, may we have our seats. Let's have our seats. No appreciation. Want to appreciate Prof for this paper that he has presented. Remember, he is the former director, Center for Igbo Studies, University of Nigeria and Nsukka, our own UNN. He is the lead researcher, poet in Nigeria, Sociolinguistic Laboratory, Directorate of Research in UNN. No wonder, Prof, I want to appreciate you. Thank you so much, Prof. In the words of Professor C.N. Okoye, ancestry is not a myth of blood. Ancestry is a manuscript of memory written across generations, waiting for each to read and for us to rediscover. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much.
Hi guys. Have you heard about G-Mass Farm babies? The washable baby diaper. Yeah, this economy, guys. You need to come and hear this good news from me. This is one of the best baby diaper that you can use in this economy now. With the way this economy carry us, they go front and back end. Just come and test it and thank me later. It's for our babies, our newborn babies. Those babies where they piss, baby say, if they hear, shh. You can play a tap they run. You know those are picking the people bed. Come and try this and thank me later. It is very smooth. It's washable diaper. You don't need to say that, I don't want to stain my hands. How will I wash my baby? For waiting, come try them. It's washable, like when you wash it and dry it. it soaks the wee, but it doesn't leak. That's the good news. When you wear your baby, this gym mask baby's hair, it soaks the wee, but the good news is that it does not leak. Like, very comfortable and smooth, and it's encouraged to use during the day and during the night. Like, do not say I did not tell you. No talk say I no give you this good news o. If no be say my pikin sef see day road dey come, guys, but wait, I will still show you how to use it. Let's go there. This is one of the best for now. Yes, tested and trusted. You can buy it for your children. If you have 5 children that will on the bed, imagine coming to visit somebody that will work for you. You don't fear that person out because your children they will. Some of them they don't even get pity. They don't even pity the bed. Some people bed they don't scatter tear. Join chinchi on top. Now they bring chinchi. They are ready to supply anywhere for this country, anywhere, nationwide, always available. No matter the quantity you want. If you want 100 pieces, 1 million pieces, 1,000, they get come and try and thank me later. Their number is on the screen there. You can chat us on the WhatsApp there. You can DM, send us a message and tell us you want the quantity you want for the babies. No matter the size of your baby, if you're picking up, you get big bum or the small one, you go size them. Come and buy and thank me later.